and we're just talking about the crowdfunding, and you said that you had a new job as a lecturer, apparently, with regard to lecturing on crowdfunding at Bristol University, my old son.
Yeah, and Brighton too, actually. I'm doing basically sort of two things. One is this model called Business Model Canvas.
Okay.
And the other one is just lectures on crowdfunding, basically, as a sort of alternative means of financing. So, for example, in Brighton, I've been working with the product design program.
Okay.
And helping them look at how they develop business plans, or at least business models, and then also how they might look to get funding for their product development, partly because one of the sort of case studies for Kickstarter.com is this thing called the Gorilla Pod, which is this sort of kind of flexible tripod for cameras, which you can also put wheels on, so you can make it into a dolly.
Okay.
So that was one. Then there was one of the other modules or programs here is called DTV Production and Management, so Digital Television Management and Production. So again, kind of that's really more about them trying to look at new forms of financing, of which obviously crowdfunding is a big one. Bristol University is their economics and business masters, and that's really kind of looking at it in the context of a sort of number of other related sort of financing models, like peer-to-peer lending. You heard of Zopa?
Yeah. All that. So in terms of putting
microloans with Kiva and all those kind of things. So yes, I mean I've been doing a bit of research and some lecturing on it now. I've actually just sent you a link to a infographic for this company called Crowdcube in the UK, because they've got around regulation for raising money for equity investment.
Okay.
Because in effect, what they've done is created an investors club.
Okay.
So you join this thing basically, and you sign up to it, and that stops the prospectuses being treated as being, publicly advertised, basically.
Right.
And they raised £1 million recently for a kind of VIP club, bar, restaurant type scenario. Not scenario, but I mean sort of, group, basically, who have these kind of private members clubs with bars and restaurants. I mean, in a way, I kind of think that they actually used the Crowdcube thing as much for their marketing as they did for the to raise the money.
Okay.
Because, if you're looking for kind of, those people who have the kind of money you might kind of invest in something like this and kind of, early adopting new technology, new investment mechanism type people, then Crowdcube is a pretty good place for them to go and find them.
And does that mean that, say for example, an American could invest in Crowdcube, or anybody else could invest in Crowdcube? Is that the model there?
You know what? I haven't checked to see whether it's got any restrictions on where whether you have to be UK based or not. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, they have worked closely with the FSA, which is the
Financial Services. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're saying is that Crowdcube does offer one way in which financing works, but that there's also this operation going on in Finland that's worth having a look at, called I sent you the link, wreckamovie.com, which I don't.
Yeah.
We're probably going to go with that sizzle reel, which is the last one. I've just got some graphics going onto it, which is going to go out probably.
Yeah, no, I thought it looked great. I it had lots of different. I like the new name, and I like the whole kind of, all the different themes.
Now, if
it struck me as being like a really good idea for a scripted reality rather than a sort of documentary kind of, program.
if we were
So
looking,
rather than a sort of Top Gear or something, do some scripted reality.
well, that's pretty much why James Levine's in coming in, because he's got a place called Typecasting, which I can just send you the Typecasting. I think it's inc.com. Is that it? I'm just looking to see. No, it's typecasting.com. I think he's got.
I have to say, it's pretty hard using Skype when I'm talking to a photo of you from 1985.
Oh, I know. So here we go. Yeah. I mean, I just found that one that you sent. Actually, here I am. So let's just move you. But I'm looking at a different sort of area, because I'm looking now at this where the camera is, and sideways, because that's what I've set up for you. But getting back to the crowdfunding thing for Fastlane LA, are you saying that at the present moment in time it is possible for investors to invest in a UK vehicle through Crowdcube, or potentially through the European operation of Wreck a Movie, and therefore get a return on the show with the current crowdfunding regulations as they currently stand?
Potentially, although I think the thing is
we got the promo. We'll have the YouTube channel.
I mean, it's all possible. My only kind of doubt is whether you'd have problem raising equity finance for a creative endeavour, that's in a way why things like Kickstarter exist, because they're designed for those kind of creative projects, which people find it hard to raise money from the bank, for example.
Oh yeah. But I mean, Crowdcube, is that an?
So in a way, well, I mean, in a way, it's kind of, do you really want to be selling the equity for this thing at this stage? Don't you just want to be trying to raise the money for the actual thing itself?
Well, I mean, you're the expert, and what I said to
own the business itself, and then go and float it once you've started to raise some money. Raise the money for the production. I mean, do you have to give away equity to raise that money at this stage?
Well, the plan would therefore be, to package this, because there is some potential investors here, financial people. There are potentially the opportunities that can be undertaken with, Crowdcube and various other systems, and you're the point guy in the country that's actually pretty much the leading edge, because of the financial services industry, for doing this sort of thing. So I'm thinking that this is, whatever way you want to package it, now that we've got a much more sellable product, we've got the .com, we've got fastlinela.com, we can also...
what, I would, look, I mean, two things. I try and make it a scripted reality. If you think that it needs to get some kind of, celeb on the way up, or some kind of, or you can find some some people who are likely to become stars. Because from what I can understand from scripted reality shows, is they don't often have people at the onset who people have really heard about. I mean, they become famous as a result of having been in these scripted reality shows. So I don't think they normally get kicked off with some, because that's obviously, that immediately sucks out the cash from the thing. But I mean, I would have thought, you could do a sort of scripted reality show. You could go and my take is, try and do it on Kickstarter.com, because actually you might raise as much on that for a production as you might do from Kickstarter for having to give equity away at the beginning.
Well, okay, to package.
And the other thing about Kickstarter is it promotes it to. I mean, look. Firstly, if you do it as a scripted realities, you get around this whole issue you had in the first place about being worried about there being any legal kind of, considerations in terms of litigation or whatever, because you've got people speeding. you know, and also if it's a kind of TV program, I think the cops will probably be a lot happier, you know, to be involved with it in some way, because it's going to be on the TV, you know, rather than just a sort of, you know, motorheads trying to sort of drive around LA at breakneck speeds in the middle of the night when they want to be in bed, you know. So I kind of think, like, you know, making a scripted reality, and I mean that's quite big at the moment. I mean in the UK there's there's obviously it's born out of the States, and I think The Hills was one of the first to do it. But I mean here we've got all these things like The Only Way is Essex, made in, or is it The Only Way is Chelsea, made in Chelsea? I can't remember. Desperate Scousewives, that's my favourite. But you know, I think, and the interesting thing about that model too is it's built into it is this getting sponsorship from all the places these people go to, and what the, you know. So I think in that point of view, it's much easier for them to understand why they might give you some money.
Well, you know,
an audience who go to places, wear certain clothes, you know.
Sure.
So I think, you know, because that's what they do in those scripted reality things. They talk about all the places they go to and what they wear, and everyone's going around, you know, whatever they're drinking, really, obviously, all the time. So, you know, so I think that would be my take, and just make it a scripted reality and go and promote the shit out of it on somewhere like Kickstarter. But just make sure you've got some investors already lined up, because the way I understand that Kickstarter works is a lot of these people have quite a kind of war chest of money already, it waiting in the wings. So as soon as they put it onto Kickstarter, they start throwing this money in chunks, because that raises the profile of the thing.
And that gets to the top. So I mean, could you manage that for a percentage of the money raised?
Well, I mean, I'm lecturing and things. I mean, I could write, I could explain how you do it. I mean, in terms of, do I need to manage it? I mean, it's not that complicated, is it?
Well, but you've got the experience of...
Well, the other thing is, why not, I mean, I don't know who you've got down for director is, why don't you go and pitch this idea to someone who's also raised some money on Kickstarter doing this kind of shit? Because...
Well, that widens that. I mean, we've got a team over here creatively that I think we're pretty happy with. What we really want to do is to have a guiding hand on Kickstarter or other crowd-funded sources. And my question to you is, if there was a percentage of the money raised going to you for handling and you know, holding the hand, is that something you'd be interested in?
Whatever. I mean, I'd love to be involved, Patrick. I mean, I guess, and not one to sort of, keep one's light under the bushel and all that, but I actually haven't done this. I've analysed it. You know what I mean? And
I know, but I mean, you are lecturing on it. I mean, you're very selfish.
Having stuck a movie on there, or a script I want to get some money for, or some project. So I mean, as I say, I mean, I think all of us have got some pretty good experience of, making a noise one way or another, you particularly. And so...
well, you think it's good? I mean, certainly, I think the product is much better than...
science to this, and also, I mean, if you can punt it out, with the help from the Indians and all the rest to drive kind of interest SEO-wise, then that's all going to help, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
I mean, basically, you're going to need a website, you're going to need, you're going to need your pitch video.
Yeah, which we've done.
I could put some. I mean, funny enough, is I'm doing this thing for this digital video arts masters down here in Brighton, where actually I'm going to tell them. I decided what I'm going to say to them is, look, what you should be doing for this project is actually collaborate on an idea and try and get it crowdfunded. So, I mean, I'm going to have to make some course material for that anyway, which tells them what they need to go and do. To actually, what they need to do to make this happen.
Right.
But so, I mean, I'm happy to share all of that with you. and I'm not trying to sort of underplay, you know, my need to make some cash or whatever, but I'm also kind of realistic that it's not, you know, I don't think that counts me in for major shareholding in your enterprise.
No, I was thinking, you take a percentage of monies raised for hand holding, you know.
I'm happy to handheld, and I have to give some pointers, you know, and...
I mean, we're all professionals here. I mean, we've done this sort of thing before. I mean, we've raised money before.
Some fucking cash.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Well, we've got the promo in a much better shape than it ever was before.
I thought the promo, I thought the name, I thought, you know, and it really started to shape up. You know, the babes, the whole thing. You know, you had venues, you had babes, you had cars, and you had sort of different stratas of society who may all be interested, you know, so I think, you know, I mean, obviously I'm not in LA, so I've got no idea about...
Well, no, but the fact that we're in LA and that we're shooting this and that we have this as a UK, perhaps, company, you know, enables us to basically go out to the UK investor or to direct the American investors to the UK operation and say, hey, you know, this is how you can get involved. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. No,
anyway,
I do, but why don't you want to do it in the US? Is what I
because in the US, the financials are not available to us yet, because the bill that enables this to take place is currently stuck in the Senate. But it can be done in the UK.
That's if you want to raise equity. I just don't see why you need equity at this stage.
It's an either or. You know what I mean? I'm going to play this.
Kickstarter, you could just raise. I mean, if you want to raise equity, then you're probably right. You need to do it in the UK and or Finland for the moment.
Right. But so that's to a certain extent what I'm saying to you is, Fastlane LA now has a team that's dedicated, and I'll send this to them. That's what this video is for. We know what we're doing, and now the opportunity arises through the UK, through Crowdcube and Kickstarter, to get some funding through the UK, which would then be to a certain extent handled, because you can create a limited company in Brighton, you can create a bank account, you can create all the necessary simple infrastructure to get the project onto Kickstarter or to Crowdcube. We have all of the necessary proper letters of people that are actually involved in this thing over here, with proper reputations, that have done lots and lots of commercials, etc., etc., that are also partners and creative directors in ad agencies, so that when that goes up, we've got lots of video at the moment now. So we'll have 10, 15, maybe even 20 short videos on the YouTube channel. We've got fastlanela.com, so that can be a WordPress site, just like you put together for the Robo Show thing. And I think that's pretty much what's needed. Then it's over to you to a certain extent to say, okay, this needs to have copywritten material for what we're going to say about it on Wreck-A-Movie or Crowdcube or Kickstarter. Pictures will have to be taken out of the movie, to give an example. Synopsis is written, etc. But we're all pretty good at that. But you've got this as a major area that you're lecturing on, so you can say, right, okay, I need to have the following items, and then we supply them, and then they go into the mix. So what I just need is like the Kickstarter to-do list, the Crowdcube sort of to-do list, and then we discuss it, and we just get it done, because we got 2-3 guys over here, one of which is an editor, and another one who's a script doctor, and an ad copy guy that's a creative director of an ad agency.
I can do that in 2 minutes. I can do that in 2 minutes. So I've sent you one, okay? So you've got the Crowdcube, infographic, okay? That tells you how that one works.
Okay.
Now, if I can find the other one, I can find you the Kickstarter one in a moment. Here we go. Where is that? Kickstarter graphic. It's coming on its way.
And what's Kickstarter graphic? What's that for?
It shows you how to do Kickstarter.
Oh, I see. It's just.
It's an infographic. It's just basically.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
That's bloody slow. You got to just say yes, don't you? So it goes.
Yeah, no, I'm just putting it into the correct folder, which is what's it called? Fast. Oops. Okay, that's coming in.
I mean, to be honest, having checked out Crowdcube, it's not as simple as you think. I mean, you have to pay to go on there because they have to vet you. You have to go through this whole process. So it's not as straightforward, and they may decline you too if they don't think it's, because they're really keen on keeping their success rate up on that. On the thing I sent you, on the infographic, I mean, so they basically, they've had a number of pitch requests, 766. They only published 188 of them, of which only 14 have actually raised cash. So although they've raised £2.5 million, that's only from 14 different projects, of which one was their own. They raised 300 grand for themselves.
Oh, right.
So
it's a great.
And if you look at the profile of some of the things they've run, so Bubble and Palm, I think the Balm, Rushmore Group, ones are sort of, they're kind of, I think they're things which have bricks and mortar, rather than they are kind of creative projects.
Right.
So, I can't see what this other one, Camelings, Universal. So they're more traditional,
rather than yeah. Well, let's have a look at the Wreck-A Movie. I mean, Wreck-A Movie's another thing that can be looked at.
Well, they might be interesting people just to send that video from and saying, do you think you could help us raise some money? How would you go about it? I mean, I'm happy to approach the guy if you want. I mean, I need to speak to these people anyway.
Why don't you have a chat with Wreck-A Movie and see what comes out of that? And now I'm going to stop recording over there because that's 20 minutes. Otherwise, the thing's just not going to work.